have clicker, or will I have to just? I can sit here. I can put it here. Oh, one that next. Put this up here. Oh, really? Yeah, just put through. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, great. Yep.
Is that thing you used in all the state things?
Oh, yeah.
Camera. We just.
Yes, sure. Is that better?
Yeah.
I don't know what people are seeing. But you probably want to point it at you, right?
Yeah.
Right,
it's
okay.
screen already.
Okay. Somewhere around it. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's good for us.
Is it blocking? Is it blocking? Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Sure. I'll do. Wonder why the thing at the bottom is showing up. It doesn't really matter. Okay. All right. So yeah. I honestly, like the past couple of weeks have had me at quite a loss for words. It has been such a blessing to have been able to go to South Africa and to meet these wonderful people that you can see here up on the screen, and see the work that they have committed their lives to doing, not just a few weeks when like myself and others who went. And I guess I wrote up there P2P, even though it wasn't quite P2P. Some of you might remember I was P2P stands for Prepare to Preach, and there was a program that WCF runs that basically is a program where young people can come together and they work on skills to preach, whether that's doing acts of service or workshops talking about your faith and things, and then they'll work on those skills for a week, and then the next year go and actually put them into action. And so in 2019, that summer, I had been a part of that P2P team, and we met at the Launchberries, John and Rachel Launchberry, their house in Oregon for a week, and we did all this prep for going to South Africa that we were supposed to do the next year in 2020. And as you can probably guess, that didn't end up happening with COVID and everything. And so basically there was like, not to talk too long about this, but Rachel had sent an email out like, does anyone still want to go? I know a lot of things change, this is a year later, and people might not be able to, but if you're able to, there's still an opportunity for you to go and help out. And basically that's kind of how all this started, is that I said like, oh, I don't know if I could in the summer, but I think I could over my winter break. And yeah, it ended up working out. I realize I have some notes on my phone. Let me pull those up. And so this, the trip ended up being quite a bit different. It ended up being like, let's see, 9 of us, as opposed to like 20 plus. And it was supposed to be P2P. We were going to go to Durban for just about a week. And we ended up going to Cape Town, where there was more of a need at that time, that we could be of support, and we were able to go for 2 weeks. All right. So who is the Cuddle Trust? Not what, we'll get into that in a second, but basically the Cuddle Trust is a nonprofit, and that is run by Christadelphians, and that's who we were working with. So basically, I should probably go back to the slide before to actually show you who the volunteers are. So this is me, and I can probably just use the mouse, can I? Yeah, myself and Becca and Ben and Hannah, who And we had the Lloyds, so Christina and Jacob, and where is Leah? Leah here, and Josh Budney right there, and Pippa, who was a girl from, it's like 18 years old, from Pretoria, so northwest South Africa, near Johannesburg. All right, so yeah, it was just the 9 of us, which is a lot of people, and the rest are people who part of this family who I'm going to get into, talk about just now, and where they're from and where they're situated. So like I said, we went to Cape Town. So basically the all of Cuddle Trust is basically like one big family. So it's this couple, Lucas and Leona, Skeepers, I think is how you say it, here. And then you'll notice some of these names are in bold. So every name in bold, so Lucas and Leona are the parents, and all their children, their names are in bold. So Lilandi is their oldest daughter, and Liesel, their second oldest, and the youngest son is Llewellyn. And basically all of their kids and their spouses and their children are all a part of this nonprofit, and they all contribute and do amazing work, and they're all so passionate about it, and it really was special to see, you know, this like one family unit all coming together, and their spouses from, you know, as well, to do this amazing work. So basically we were split up into 2 groups. So it for 1 week, a group of us were just outside of Cape Town down here, as you can see on the map, and the other group was up to the northwest in a small town called Hopefield, which is more like in the countryside. And so Lucas and Leona, they live there, as well as their daughter Liesel and her husband Henry, and he had 2 little kids. And actually, while we were there, Lisa was pregnant with twins, and they had 2 more babies, and it was stressful but healthy, which is a blessing. Yeah, they were quite, which I guess is, you know, common with twins, but they were born premature, but they were, you know, twins, and which I guess, you know, I don't know a ton about pregnancy, but I think is common as far as twins go. But yeah, it was scary, and just with COVID, and, you know, like your husband not being able to go in and meet his kids and things. Yeah, it was just a very emotional time for the family while they had us at their home. So there's a lot going on, but yeah, so that was a group in Hopefield, and you'll notice this couple down here, Charles and Valerie Cotton Smith, and they were a couple originally from South Africa, but had been living in Scotland for 10-20 years. This is actually Stacy, so Llewellyn's wife, her parents, and they're basically, and this will make more sense when I show pictures, they're basically best friends with Lucas and Leona. So they were there for a year helping out as well. And so they're in the small town in Hopefield up here. And then the group in Cape Town, closer to the city, was Lundy and Michael and their 2 daughters. Zante is, I believe, 11, and Lexi is 9. And then Stacy and Llewellyn, and Stacy's pregnant as well. So a lot of the family is definitely growing. All right, so I probably confused you all there, but here I should have put this picture up earlier. So this is Stacy and Llewellyn, those 2. Hopefully you can see. I know it's not too big, the photo. This is Michael and Lilandi. So those are the 2 couples in Cape Town. This is Michael and Lilandi's oldest daughter, Zante, and their youngest daughter, Lexi. And then this is the group in Hopefield. So you have Lucas here and Leona, and you have Henry and Liesel. And then, so this is their little girl, Ruby Lee and Amberly. They're both probably under the age of 3. And then these are, I think, Leona's parents, so the grandparents, but we didn't meet them. So hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. But So I'm just going to put up a picture, and I want you guys to tell me if you recognize anyone other than the people that I mentioned from this photo, and see if you can spot that person that, well, if you recognize them, hopefully you spotted them. I'll give you guys a second. You recognize anybody? Right, yeah. So right here, can you see the mouse? Yeah. This is our beloved brother Abengo. And this was the day that he was baptized at the Kempton, well, not at the ecclesia, but with the Kempton Park Ecclesia in Johannesburg. So this family, the Skeepers, they all used to live in Johannesburg, and over the past like 4 or 5 years, they've slowly, all of them have actually moved to Cape Town bit by bit, or the Cape Town area. You might, I'll just go back, you might notice, this is Brother Ramazani, for those who know him. That's the father of the Amena family, who live in Chicago now. And he and Abengo got baptized on the same day, and are really close friends. Ramazani was actually visiting here. I don't know if he made it to meeting, if he was here long enough, but visiting the Abengos just a few years ago. Yeah. So, and you might recognize some of these people. So this is Lucas and Leona. This is Lalandi. This is actually Zante. So I guess you kind of get an idea. This is probably like 10 years ago or so now. If Abengo was here, maybe he'd remember when he got baptized. And that's Michael. So that's Lalandi's husband. All right. And so this is actually a photo of Brother Abengo getting baptized. And then this is, like I said, Lucas, and this is his son-in-law, Michael, two of the people we stayed with. And this is actually at and thank you, Ann Carol, for all these photos, but at Great Lakes in 2017. So it was 1 year. I don't know if Lucas and Leona have been to the US other than this trip, but in 2017 they came over to Great Lakes and spent some time with Ramazani and they gotten close to the Richards as well. And yeah, the special photo of Lucas and Leona and some of the Abengo family. All right.
Oh, brother, they're just about late.
Oh yeah, you're missing your big moment. I'll have to go back quickly, I guess. And yeah, Brother Abengo, do you remember this day? You see you? It's you. Yeah. When you were baptized, right? Yeah, exactly. And so I was staying with Lucas and Michael, the ones who baptized you, and it was really neat. I guess I didn't share this. Just hearing from them, Lucas specifically talking about Brother Abengo and saying he was always such a nice man and always had a big smile and was very soft spoken, which I think we can all say is very true. He very much remembered you. And this photo you might remember from Great Lakes Bible School with Lucas and Leona and not all of your family. I don't know where. Madar was probably out playing soccer or something, but or teaching them lacrosse. Yeah. All right. So what actually is Cuddle Trust? We kind of talked about who makes it up, the family and where they're at. But what actually is Cuddle Trust? So basically, the Cuddle Trust was it started off just as a program, a project of a nonprofit that the family was running. So it was a project just within a nonprofit from 2010 to 2014. And you can read there, it stands for creche, and creche is like, I'm not sure if it's a word that's used here, I hadn't heard it, but basically like preschool, upgrades, development, directives, liaison, education. So that stands for, cuddle. And then in October of 2014, they actually, the project had gotten so big that they actually transitioned it into its own nonprofit, and so or a trust, and so they kind of changed the name to community upliftment, development, directives, liaison, education, which doesn't quite slip off the tongue, but I guess they liked the cuddle name, so they just substituted some different words, I guess. And so this is the logo. It's it's a colorful, I guess, bigger hand, adult hand, and it has the outline of a smaller hand, the hand of a child, kind of the idea of holding it. And one of their, or a few of their slogans are helping others to help themselves, and changing lives becomes life-changing. And they shared a quote that I thought was quite neat, and it was from Trevor Noah, who some of you are probably familiar with, who's a South African comedian who's gotten quite, I guess, famous. And it says, the quote goes, he says, "People love to say, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. But what they don't say is, it would be nice if you gave him a fishing rod." That's the part of the analogy that is missing, which I thought was quite funny. But you can teach someone how to fish, or how to, about these skills. But if they don't actually have the tools that they need to put those skills that they've learned into action, what is actually going to get done. All right, so what are some of the things that the Cuddle Trust does? So as you kind of might have picked up from the name, their kind of flagship project is these creche courses. So basically they would provide courses for people who wanted to become, like preschool teachers, and they would offer these courses for free to allow people to get certified to teach at preschools, and to kind of help them start on that course, or on that journey. And so some of these initiatives, they do a lot of different things, a lot of other things. But they, and some of these we'll actually see as we go through some of the projects that we helped with and were a part of for the 2 weeks. So they have these days for girls, and they'll provide sanitary packs and give some education on like sanitation, and as you can see, this is a photo at the bottom right of actually Hannah teaching at a Days for Girls event. But that was, I wasn't a part of that, but it was really like amazing to hear about how that went, and some of the things, like there was a sister, well, I'll get to it later, but sister in her 60s that didn't know like why she was getting sick every month, and it was just very like eye-opening to hear about that. And you can only imagine like the guilt that they feel, and thinking that something's wrong with them because they're when they have their period, getting sick. But so that's one of the things. They also do food parcels, so they package up food and vegetables and things, and give out to the community. They kind of serve as a donation distribution channel, so they'll take in donations and school supplies, clothing, as some of you donated, which was very kind. And they'll put together winter packs when it does, it was quite hot when I was there, but it does cool down quite a bit in the winter over there. And sponsor school fees and tuition, and provide different trainings to gain some skills. And they'll also do random acts of kindness. So not for any specific reason, but they, other than to show God's love and to be Christ-like. We were a part of a few, they call them cleanups for Christ, where we would, you can see in the photo here, go to just the beaches around Cape Town and bring a bunch of trash bags and pick up trash, and we'd all be wearing, they had like matching shirts with a Bible verse on the back saying, Christ cleanup is coming soon. And it was really amazing to see how many people like asked, like, oh, like what is this group like about? Like, what are you guys doing out here? And just wanting to learn more. I had a couple of really good conversations, just, being out there picking up trash, and there were actually people who wanted to join in as well. So they do upgrades. They'll make improvements at preschool was one of the things that we did. Do painting, and we did some farm work for a neighbor who had a need for that, and they also kind of within the work they do, they'll also make sure to get out and help brothers and sisters who are in need in the Cape Town area. Okay, so kind of getting into some of the projects. I'm not going to go day by day just because it was so all over the place. We'd be working a little bit on one project and then do another one, and then the next day we'd be back doing one, and it was all over the place and very busy. But so one of the projects we did the first week was working on, they ended up naming it the Fundani. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, center. But basically we called it the container. They've been donated this container, and the hope was to and they've done it, transition it into like a kind of like a classroom where they're able to have Bible clubs and spend time with the kids. And so we spent a bit of time. There's, see in the next photo, there's quite a bit of rubbish and metal and wood that had been just dumped to the side here in this area. This is just outside of Cape Town, and so some of the time was spent, that's Ben and I loading this stuff into the back of this truck you can see here, and bringing it to the dump, just cleaning up around the area, because they actually had just gotten the container right before we came, and so we were kind of prepping before we were going to have the first Bible club there. And we also put up a fence around the container, just because there's some dogs on the property as well, and wanted to, if needed to, keep them out from roaming around and stuff.
What property did they use?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so I'll get to that in just a little bit, but they actually built a relationship with this lady who takes in kids who have been abandoned or have run away, and the parents haven't, gone looking for them. And so they connected her with she connected Cuddle Trust with the kids in the nearby community, and allowed Cuddle Trust to put it on their property. And Cuddle Trust has done a number of things, and I'll get into that in support of her and what she does. But yeah, it's a big blessing to be able to have kind of a central location to assist in the community and connect with the kids. So yeah, this is us putting up the fence, and that's the fence when it was done. And so yeah, so just nearby to that location that we're just talking about, there is a place called, sounds a bit different than it's spelled, but Vulva. And I'm not sure, are people familiar with what a township is? Maybe not, a little bit. Okay, basically in South Africa, during apartheid, the government quite literally would segregate different groups into communities. Like they would create these things called townships, where they would take the like Black people, and they would put them in one like town in one group. And it's it's very obviously messed up, and you know, it has had a lot of, you know, ramifications even today, years and years later. And so you know, there are, you know, there's a lot of poverty in these communities and in these townships, and so and it's not easy to, you know, Cuddle Trust has made quite a bit of an effort to try and build trust with these townships, with these communities, as it's, you know, not you know, a very, you know, simple thing to start that relationship and work to building it. And so that was part of what is going on here. We first met them. We went out and to the field, and some of them we played soccer with, and the younger ones and some of the girls we were playing a bunch of different games. So that's Becca walking with a number of the kids, and that's we did a little. I guess we all made an arch and we would run through and then keep the line going. That's another photo. And so the next day, those same kids, we invited out, not really invited, we went and drove over and picked up as many as we could to bring to Bible club. So this is the very first Bible club inside the container that I just showed in the previous photos. And so we sang some songs, you know, Jesus loves me, and then we did a little art and craft, and then we played some. So this is some of the kids and their drawing and kind of talking about this idea that, you know, Jesus loves you, and then we played a game just on the other side of the container. What was it called? Fishy, fishy, cross my ocean. It was kind of like sharks and minnows, but if you got tagged, you had to stop. It was a lot of fun. And this is everyone outside the container. They're only able to fit 15 in the car, but in the back of the truck in the bed. But in the future, they're hoping to be able to get, you know, maybe take multiple trips. It's not too far away, the township. And so we did this at the end of the second week, but I thought I would just include it here. We actually ended up painting the container. It was the first Bible club. It was one of the little girls, I'm not sure where in the photo, but she started like bursting into tears. And I think we later went on to find that she had thought that she was going to get a shot, because I guess they, you know, they or maybe this group specifically had like had that association, you know, gotten a shot in, you know, I guess a container-like looking thing. So we thought, I think they had planned to, but we ought to paint it. So we spent a bit of time painting it, and we all used our hands, kind of, you know, connecting to their logo, which is a hand. And we did like flowers and trees. I guess you can see it here in a rainbow going around. And I think they're gonna maybe try and put the logo on there at some point. But yeah, that was the group of us. This is at the end of the second week. All right, but moving on here. So I was talking about earlier, you know, what's the property like that this container was just put on, and basically it was the property of this lady named Kathy, who basically has this kind of like orphanage, and where she's taken in kids who've been abandoned and you know, left or wandered away, and the parents didn't go after them. And you know, Cuddle Trust has helped. The place is called Little Brinks. Them in you know, renovating some of the living accommodations for them. There was some like sewage that wasn't quite, you know, draining the right way, and was actually getting onto like the area where the kids were playing. And so Cuddle Trust, this is not what we did, but before had helped basically fix that up, and has provided a number of toys and kind of learning tools, and have actually helped some kids get adopted by I guess there's some kind of tests that they have to pass to show that they, have some skills and things, but that have helped with that as well. Just to, name a few things. And Kathy, as I mentioned, has done a lot for Cuddle Trust as well. She's a very well-respected member of the nearby community and really helped create a bridge between that township that I was showing pictures of, playing with the kids in Volva. And it even with Kathy's help, it took over a year for them to kind of make connections and build a relationship with the community over there and with the kids from Volva. And you can imagine it would have been impossible without her help. I forgot to show the photos. So yeah, I actually didn't get to spend time playing with the kids who were specifically at the little orphanage. It's right across maybe 100 yards from where the container is on the same property. But I was putting up the fence when Becca and Hannah and some of them were playing with the kids. But I was able to help make some of the toys and some of these fun things that and so the idea is to learn colors and shapes with this one. And Becca and I were making this little cutout where you put the ball in with the corresponding colors. So another project that we were working on was creating these food parcels that I had mentioned earlier, and these stationery packs. So basically, we would go out shopping for food and get it in definitely in bulk, as you can see there. And we would load it into they had a few trucks, which was very useful and helpful in moving supplies and equipment and things. And then we would set it all out in their backyard, and we put it into groups, and I think we made 50 here, so in rows, and we put one squash and 2 potatoes in each, and we kind of work together and go along and do that. And so that's Becca and I helping make the parcels. And this is when we were giving out the parcels to the community in Volva, the township. And this is a photo of them. They made soup jars, so they would take a bunch of the things that we had shopped for and put all these ingredients into a jar, and basically you would just add hot water and it turn it into a soup, and that it's kind of all the ingredients, lentils and rice and powder for flavoring and stuff. We would also Becca and I also spent some time in kind of putting together some stationery packs. So with a lot of the materials that they needed, school supplies, which was, really, it seemed like it went a long way. And very thankful to everyone who donated what they could, and the school supplies and the funds as well. It was really quite something. Becca and I filled up like 3 huge check bags worth of school supplies, all from donations from people, from some of you here and people all up and down the East Coast. And there was actually a brother. I think goes to Worcester. I can't remember his name, but he used to work at Staples, and while if something didn't sell, they wouldn't they didn't keep it around. And so he said, "Oh, don't throw it away. I'll take it." And there were these individual packs of, you can see there, Expo marker, Sharpie, highlighter, glue stick, scissors, and they're all in individual boxes. And so he must have given us 50 some of them, and those really went a long way. And it was just a wonderful example of how God was working. Who would have thought someone heard about our need for, school supplies, and they were someone who used to work at Staples and just had like literally hundreds of these individualized like packages sitting in his basement. But yeah, it was such a blessing. And I'm realizing I haven't mentioned this now, but as I mentioned, we were in 2 separate groups. So not all 9 of us were together the whole time. So half of us stayed a week in Cape Town, and then half of us stayed in Hopefield, and then after a week we swapped, if that makes sense. So I was with it was Ben and Hannah and Becca and myself in one group, and the other group was the Lloyds, Josh Bunny and Pippa, the other girl from South Africa, staying with the families, of course. And so another one of kind of some of the projects were these random acts of kindness that I had mentioned earlier. And this is Brother Asumani. He's from the Cape Town area, and he is like a really wonderful, loving brother in the community. He goes to the Cape Town Ecclesia, and this is him and I on the last Sunday. And he had an old shed behind his house that he wasn't using and wanted to get taken down. So I didn't put photos of that in here. You can kind of see all the kind of junk, the rubbish that we had broken down this big shed. And then we were going to plant a garden in his very small, I guess not even really yard, but area behind his house. So that was Ben and I and Michael and Llewellyn. And this is kind of at the end, the garden that we had put together, and his cousin came over and helped, and his son here on the left. Yeah, and it was really an amazing experience. I remember like we were reflecting on everything that had happened and what we enjoyed and everything, like the most memorable moments at the end of the week. And I remember thinking back to when we were doing this garden, and Ben and I were, we were digging, and Brother Asumani here, he came out and he had a tray with some like glasses and juice and chips, and he was singing, "Brother, sister, let me serve you, let me be as Christ to you." And it was like, it was, I don't know, like you could just feel like how much it meant to him, for him to be able to, to serve us, and like how true those words were to him in that moment. And it was really, really special. And yeah, I will never forget that. Okay. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we did these cleanups for Christ, where we go on the beach and bring trash bags and pick up trash as we found it. So that's the group. And that's Brother Coletso on the right corner. He's a brother who lives in Cape Town, who actually teaches in preschool and works with, I don't think he's much older than I am, but works with Cuddle Trust as well. This is a photo of one of the beaches. It was even busier before we took this photo, but it was just jam packed with people, and there was this trash everywhere. And this is Lexi and I. We had gotten quite close over the 2 weeks. She's the younger one in the family, Michael and Lalundi's kids. And that's Table Mountain, if you recognize it in the background. Huh? Lion's Head. Yeah, exactly, on the right, this little peak as well. It's Lion's Head. And this is, yeah, some of the trash that we got. There was even more, and that was the back of the truck. There must have been like 20 plus bags of trash. We filled it to the brim, and that was only in like 40 or so minutes. And it was, there were so many, they use this phrase God moments, and I really love it. I think I'm gonna start using it now. It's basically like, seeing like a moment where you saw God at work. But it was like, we weren't even supposed to go to that beach. We'd already done a cleanup, and one of the sisters, one who was volunteering there for a year from Scotland, with her husband, was like, "Oh, let's go for a swim." She was crazy. Like, it was very cold. Like right before dinner, as we waited for the food, And we went and there were tons of people and we saw this trash everywhere. And so we're like, after dinner, let's go down and pick up this trash. And we had the guy had a conversation with this guy who just asked like, oh, like I noticed all these matching t-shirts. Like, what are you guys a group or something? And I was talking to him and he was really interested and like wanted my phone number to hear more and stuff. And it was just really, it's like such a wonderful way to preach and you know, to take care of God's planet and do all the same at you know, at once. Like I said, there were literally people who would come up and ask for a bag and wanted to help, which again is just, I found amazing and so inspiring. So another thing we did, there was a preschool that we helped. Basically, we repainted the inside, and they had a relationship with the couple that ran it, the preschool relationship with Cuddle Trust, and so we kind of helped fix some things up and painted some murals and things. So the first week on the Monday, we spent the day doing that, the whole team. These are some of the murals that we painted. So the balloons, we put each like month on there. And again, these are all kind of trying to, you know, get the kids to learn colors and, you know, maybe first few numbers and different shapes. So you can see like the circles and the numbers of the, you know, hearts and different colors. Another mural. And these are all ones that we did, probably a team of like 15 or so of us. We all did it together. And then we started, this was a big project, right outside the preschool, there was this little concrete slab. And so we painted it gray. And then they have these little tricycle bikes that they really like. And so it turned out amazing. This is just the beginning of it. Painted it and designed it to have, you know, like a little church and a little house and ended up having road signs and everything and little places to park and things. But all right, and so kind of transitioning into week 2. So week 1 was all at like closer to Cape Town. And week 2 was a little bit an hour or so out in Hopefield. And one of the things we did leadership workshops, where it was a primary school, but it was with kids who were probably like 12, 13, 14 years old. And we went 2 different days. We went on the Tuesday and the Friday just for a few hours and focused on these, you know, leadership skills, these life skills. And so Ben and Hannah, basically how it was set up was Leona would give a presentation on these different, it was 2 each day. So priorities and like self-esteem and self-talk. And then after she would give that little presentation, PowerPoint presentation, like the first day, Ben and Hannah would connect it to a Bible story. And then we do an activity where we play a game. And so Ben and Hannah did priorities and self-talk, self-esteem. And then on Friday, Rebecca and we did people skills and communication and goal setting, connected it to, you know, how Joseph conducted himself. And goal setting, we talked about Nehemiah and how he set up a plan to rebuild the city. And yeah, and it was, I think it went really well. So yeah.
So they all speak English?
Yeah, so it's not, it's, you know, it's not their first language. They predominantly speak Afrikaans, but most of them, yeah, could understand English quite well. So that was part of the struggle, is just sometimes like wishing, you know, you could really like be on the same page and communicate, but most of them understood English quite well, which, you know, is a blessing for us. I wish I learned more Afrikaans, but didn't learn all that much. So yeah, this is me teaching in the classroom at the school. This is Becca and I working on some technical difficulties getting the PowerPoint set up. And this is us doing an activity that Becca had come up with. This was really neat. There was a girl that came up to Becca at the end and was showing her that she'd been taking notes on everything and had written out if you're familiar with like the SMART acronym for goals, you know, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And it was just neat to see how excited she was and how, you know, like really was seemed to be getting a lot out of it. And so at the end, we had prepared all these stationery packs with a lot of the donations that have been given to us. We had 50, and we're like, oh boy, hopefully we have a right amount. We don't have too few, and there were just under 50 kids. Another one of those, like, God moment after God moment. And they all, there's a video. I couldn't get a video, so I just took a screenshot, but picture of them all throwing it up in the air. Just some materials that they'd be able to have and use for school. So Green Village, this is another township. This is just next to the creche, the preschool that we painted and fixed up a bit that I was showing in earlier photos. And so they do a lot of work and a lot of programs at Green Village. And so we played some games, got to know some of the kids, throwing a ball around in the circle, played some soccer. And they do a soup kitchen, I think once a week or every other week there. And so they make a lot of like soup and some other things, some fruit and noodles or rice. And this is little Ruby Lee. It was amazing to see how all the kids, it's like, doesn't even seem, they do a great job of kind of including them in the work, and it doesn't even seem like they make a big deal of it, but I think they do a really wonderful job of that, and it was special to see that. But this is her kind of mixing up the soup and had a blanket around it to keep it warm. And this has been Becca and myself dishing out some of the food. I tried it; it was quite good. And then they have a little hall at the township where we did a Bible club. And this is, what were we? We were acting out the story of Daniel, and I was the king. And did some more arts and crafts. And this is the small group of us. There was a funeral, so not as many kids were able to show up, but yeah. So Wellington is another township that we visited and helped out at. So again, I mentioned earlier, one of the programs that they have is these days for girls, and so they'll run classes where they will kind of just provide some education on some sanitation kind of things, and in this instance they actually talked about how to make reusable sanitary pad underwear, which I think went a long way and was a big need in the community there. And so while that was going on, Hannah was teaching that. Becca and I went and played games with the kids. It was quite hot, so we tried to keep them in the shade, but this is what ended up happening. They're chasing me around. But they're really sweet kids. We ended up tiring them out a little bit. And then played some soccer as well. And we had some stationary packs as well that we were able to give. Yeah, and so another, I guess, some more random acts of kindness that we did in the second week. Their neighbors, they live on a little bit of a farm, and they are quite a bit older, and so we were able to help one morning. And basically they have a bunch of sheep, and sheep eat, and they've got to go to the bathroom, and then they go to the bathroom, and you got to get rid of that stuff. So we helped by mucking out some sheep stalls, and this was the group of us. Hit a nice cat that Becca liked a lot. and then later on in the week, we helped paint one of their the roof of their house, and it ended up looking quite nice. You can see the little bits that we hadn't quite finished, so we weren't painting on our toes. Where Ben's sitting, and just to the right of him there. And so this is kind of as the that little track that I was talking about earlier at the creche, we also did some more work there, and finishing that up that second week as well. And these are just some of the murals that we did. Becca did that, did the planet and the outline of everything, and I think Christina was just finishing up the painting and writing in the letters. And this is a mural that Becca and I spent quite a bit of time on, and some others did, on the outside of the school. Play, learn, and grow together, and a bunch of different little pictures and kids and flowers. We weren't quite done with it at that point, which is why they don't have heads yet, some of the kids. And this is the group of us at the end, all together. And this was the finished, well, not quite finished, but almost finished product. When we left, they have these little tricycles. I think it turned out amazing. Yeah, I think, and there's a photo of some of the kids enjoying it just a few days after they started school, right after we had finished. Look, they're even staying in between the lines. We did another cleanup for Christ, just some photos from that. You know, it's beautiful. The water and the view of the mountain was really special. And this is the back of the shirt. So Christ cleanup coming soon. I think it's Hebrews 10:24. I don't remember what exactly it says, but yeah, it was neat to see that people actually, you know, took notice and would ask questions and would join in as well. So while we did a lot of work, it was like 5, 6 a.m. sometimes to you know, get some work done before the sun came out, because it was like 90s, 100 degrees some days. We were able to have some fun. So Becca and I hiked up Table Mountain, which was amazing. This is the view from the top, and that's us coming up around the side. We were supposed to do a little wine tasting, and the time didn't end up working out. So they kind of, we did a makeshift one in the backyard, which was really nice, and just a good time with the family, with all of them. And this is Becca, Josh, and I. We took a drive kind of around the Cape on the Sunday afternoon, and the view was amazing. We actually were able to go to a safari one afternoon as well. Got a big discount from someone they were connected to with the work that they do, and yeah, it was really cool to see some of these, you know, animals, not in a zoo, but in, like, you know, a habitat that they actually could have been, you know, naturally living in. Saw elephants and rhinos and zebras. And this is Aquila. It was a very fancy reserve, but I guess I got a big discount. So that was a lot of fun. We did this really short hike, which was unbelievable. Almost looked like Half Dome going up this rock called Parle Rock. And that was a view facing one way, and you can see Table Mountain way in the distance. So this is like Hopefield area. We spent quite a bit of time at the beach, cooling off in the evenings. And that's Lexi. That was a group of us, like one of the first nights. I think that was the Monday night after we had worked on the crash at the beginning. We had shared a number of dinners all together. And ate a lot of pizza. That was when you have a big group, that was kind of the, you know, you buy a couple pizzas and people don't have to order individually, but that was nice. I don't think I've ever ate that much pizza in a 2-week span of my life. We had a braai, which is basically like the Afrikaans word for barbecue. And this is the picture at the beginning that we took, the beginning of the slide that we took the last day at the braai. No. Wow. Yeah, maybe next time. Let's see. Yeah.
How much of what you did was not planned? Some of the activities, like painting.
So I think they planned quite a bit of it. I think a lot of things, you know, kind of got moved around a bit, especially with Liesel having the 2 twins. That was like just halfway. It was like the end of the first week. And so that was a bit, you know, like people going different directions to be, you know, with, and then let's see, Stacy, where is Stacy? Right here. She's pregnant and recently pregnant, and so she was sick quite a bit. And like her mom had to come down and so it was a bit hectic in that sense, but they did a great job of kind of coordinating a bunch of different things that we were able to help with, and I think it was amazing, like in the debriefing sessions that we had, as I forgot to mention down there, where we kind of reflect and talk about what we had done, what we enjoyed, what we, wasn't our favorite. It was amazing to like see like some of the people in Cuddle Trust, like Michael, like getting like really emotional, like about like, I don't know how we could have gotten like the first Bible club in the container done if you weren't here, and like just how much it meant to him that it had been like years that they in the planning, and yeah, it was really like humbling and like really meant a lot. I was kind of going into it thinking like, okay, how much can I really like contribute in 2 weeks? Like, is that these flights are expensive, like that WCF is paying for me and Becca and others to go. But yeah, it really was amazing and unbelievable experience. And to answer your question, it was kind of a lot of things are moving around, but quite a bit of it was planned out in the sense of they had kind of made a little bit of a schedule, but we didn't know really what was going to happen until we really got there. So I guess, the question is what now? Like what, how do we not let, at least, for me, this light, this excitement, this passion, burn out? As it's been when I've gone on Truth Core in the past, it is, and like Gideon, you can probably attest, it's very tough to come back and then right back into your normal, I guess, life. And so I think it'd be great to talk about some ways that how can we, and for me, how can I keep this going, and how can we as an ecclesia, as a community, kind of maybe take from some of the programs or ideas or things that they do. And so just some ideas were, doing something like the beach cleanup. Like we have beaches, we have places that we can clean up, and it's, you need anything but people and trash bags. And I think, having, shirts with that matched or Bible verses or whatever was nice, and maybe people notice a little bit as well. But it's something that we could definitely do as an ecclesia, and it was like very eye-opening to see like how that led into conversations about what we believed and what we believe in, and to actually see like other people taking notice and being like, oh yeah, this is this beach is pretty dirty, let me like go and ask and see if I can get a bag and help out. Like that was really cool to see strangers just joining in as well. It's a bit cold maybe for for that right now, but that was an idea. And like I think you might have noticed like some of these random acts of kindness. I know that's, as an ecclesia, we used to do that back, not that we don't, but back in the day we used to go out around the neighborhood and like rake people's yards, and that must have been years ago now. But it's like some of these things, like we are very much able to do things like that and show God's love to those around us. And I think that was one of the most like eye-opening things that I hadn't really appreciated before, is that like how preaching isn't just going to people's doors and telling them what you believe, or having these conversations or explaining things, but actually going out and just serving or showing God's love in the way that you act, or in a small act of service. And it was just amazing to see how that would lead to conversations, how that would lead to them being curious and asking about why are you doing this, or I think there's that quote, like people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think it's so true. Like it really is, and something that I hadn't quite appreciated until this trip. But yeah, so I mean, there's you know, specifically to Cuddle Trust, there's a number of things that any of us can do, you know, donate a bunch of different things, our time. If, you know, they love volunteers, so go and volunteer if you know, have the time and would like to do that. You know, whether you're, you know, would go for a week or a year, or, you know, maybe don't go for good because we need you here, but like they really appreciate and love the help and support. You know, it's funding as well. You know, WCF definitely has been a big help for them in that way, and you know, giving them some financial resources for specific projects that they would like to work on and do. But there's specific things that I heard them talking about, like how wonderful it would be to have like a bigger van to transport kids to and from, you know, Bible clubs and things. And I remember talking about, like, we were playing soccer at one of the fields, and just that, like the goalpost was kind of falling over and there was only a goal on one side, and just that, you know, how wonderful, like Henry was talking about, like, love to like, he works with woods, he could put up another goalpost without too much, you know, effort. It's just you know, so there's a lot of projects and opportunities to do with if the funding is there, and the resources, all the school supplies that people helped collect and provide, that they sent with Becca and I came with, it was so helpful, and you could see really went a long way. And that was really wonderful. So a big thank you to everyone who did contribute, whether, you know, with school supplies or some donations, financial donations. It really meant a lot. And you don't have to, but I thought it would just be nice if you wanted to take a photo or something. But if you would just reach out to Cuddle Trust. So the email is there. It's cuddle.cpt@gmail.com, and that's their WhatsApp. That's the number, 2782-613-6156. And just express gratitude for the things that, you know, the work that they do. It really is amazing, and you know, that they've dedicated their lives to these programs, and from doing what they can to show God's love. Yeah, that would, I'm sure it would mean a lot. I know I've I can't even put it really into words, but I've tried to them to show my thanks and gratitude for all that they do. But yeah, I know I've gone quite a bit long. We don't have a ton till meeting's supposed to start, but are there any questions or comments that people have?
How was the water?
It was cold. It was cold.
Clear or-
Oh, and it was beautiful. Yeah, it was really, it was, yeah, it was very clear. And we actually went out for a bunch of swims, which was nice. One of the, they're not crazy, but like they love, like, we'd be up till like 11, 12, you know, prepping for the day before, and they'd be like, oh, you want to get up at 5 in the morning and go see the sunrise and go for a swim? And we did. Swam over to an island and like looked for shells and stuff before we started working, and like later that morning. But yeah, it was beautiful, and it was very hot. So even though the water was freezing, I was still in there whenever I got the chance. Yeah.
The classes that they did, were these prepared, like the classes that they taught, did they have materials? Planned classes? Or
Yeah.
something they came up with?
All in general, the classes in general, yeah.
Skills and, you know,
Right, yeah.
all that stuff, was it free? I mean, they had
Right.
teaching plan or?
Yeah, so kind of, so they had made, like, Leona had put together a bunch of slides for each of the different like leadership topics. And I'm not quite sure how the day for girls went, but I got the sense that they have like kind of something that they go through, and slides and things. But some of the other things like the Bible club, we kind of, you know, it wasn't all that planned out. So some of the lessons with the kids, with the young kids, we would it would kind of be on us to plan whatever we wanted to focus on, or what songs we wanted to sing, or things like that. But yeah, I think there's a good balance of having a plan and materials you're going through, but then also kind of having the flexibility to kind of cater it to what the group was, or the age, and having some flexibility in that way based on how they were receiving it and stuff. Yeah, good question. Were you gonna say something, Aunt Jane? Sorry.
I just said it sounded like a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it really was. It was, yeah, it was life-changing, and yeah, it's funny, you hear about, I kind of mentioned earlier, but you hear about like people like, oh, should you be doing work if you're not actually preaching, or you're not giving them what's really gonna in the long term save them, or change their lives. But it is like, it's unbelievable to see the impact that you can make, and what a witness to God that you can be when you are just when you're serving, when you are just trying to meet needs, and just be help, and show love, and it was eye-opening to see that, as I mentioned, that open up opportunities to talk about your faith. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, I like the fact that it's like, okay, so what do we do once we come back here? What do I do?
Yeah.
Or what do we do? And that really resonates with me. There's so much need right here.
Mm.
I mean, Baltimore City. I mean, there just is a need. I see homeless people all the time. There's such a need right here. And it would be nice if we could talk about it, come up with a way that we could actually touch people here.
Yeah, we tap into this enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You're right.
Get something going here.
And I think it would not only help them, but it would help us as an inclusion.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's very true. Like, that's something I found in like doing things like this. It's like, I do think we were able to help and make a difference, but it's like, most of all, I'm the one who's benefiting from everything that happened. Like, I feel like I've, the encouragement, and the I feel like I've grown a lot from the experience, especially. But all right, I have gone quite long, so I should really I should probably wrap up. But I appreciate everyone's thoughts and questions, and I do think we should talk more about what can we do as an ecclesia, as a community, to do some of these same things, because we really can.
So we need to do a potluck in February. Shall we do a planning meeting in February, have a potluck, and if anybody wants to stay and talk about what we can do? Let's